Hello friends and my dear student, myself Komal Walde from RBNB College, Sri Rampur. Today we are going to discuss about the topic digestive system, human digestive system from the chapter Human Nutrition from the standard 11th Biology. In previous video, we discussed about the human digestive system in which we discussed about the alimentary canal, and in that topic we discussed about the mouth, which is also known as the buccal cavity. We discussed about the teeth as well as anatomy of the teeth and the tongue. Next to the tongue there is the pharynx. It is also we discussed, and this alimentary canal next to the pharynx it joined to the esophagus. Students, we know that the esophagus is a thin muscular tube of near about 25 centimeter long, which is passes through the rib cage as well as diaphragm, and it join to the stomach. The esophagus is lined by the mucous cell. The mucus lubricate which passageway of the food, which allow the passage for the food. The esophagus is made up of the longitudinal muscles as well as the circular muscles. The rhythmic wave of the esophagus, that is the contraction and relaxation, is this rhythmic muscle movement of the relaxation and contraction is known as the peristalsis. And these esophagus are joined to the stomach. This esophagus is joined to the stomach, and now we are going to discuss about the detailed structure of the stomach. As we know that student, the stomach is located in the upper left portion of the abdominal cavity. It is the muscular sac. It is the J-shaped muscular sac, as well as it is around the 20 to 30 centimeter in length. The length of that stomach is 20 to 30 centimeter in length. It is divided into 4 parts: upper cardiac region as well as the lower pyloric region. Upper cardiac region and lower is the pyloric region. The first part of the liver is cardia, the next is the fundus, third one is the body, and last one is the pylorus. It is the cardia is the first part of the liver which surround the band of circular muscles, as well as it is present at the junction of the esophagus. It is present at these muscles are present at the junction of the esophagus and the stomach, which is called as the cardiac sphincter. It is known as the cardiac sphincter. The cardiac sphincter prevent the backflow of the food from stomach to the esophagus. This cardiac sphincter prevent the backflow of the food from stomach to the esophagus. Next to the cardia, the second part of the stomach is the fundus. The next to the cardiac, the second part of the stomach is known as the fundus. The fundus is dome-shaped region, and it is above and left of the cardia. It is present above the cardia and left side of the cardia. It is the second part, and this second part is the next part of the stomach is the body. It is the main part of the stomach, which is known as the body, and this body form a large central portion of the stomach. The body is the part of the large center part of the stomach which store the food. The body is store the food material, and the last part of the stomach, that is the pylorus. The pylorus is a narrow posterior region of the stomach. It opens into the duodenum of intestine. The duodenum of the small intestine. The pylorus is open into the duodenum of intestine. It is the initial portion of the small intestine. The duodenum is initial portion of the small intestine. Again, this opening is guarded by a set of sphincter muscle. The opening of the pylorus into the duodenum is guarded by the sphincter muscles, and it is known as the pyloric sphincter. That sphincter is known as the pyloric sphincter. It regulates the flow of food from stomach to the small intestine. It regulates the flow of food from the stomach, means from pylorus to the small intestine, as well as the stomach temporarily store the food and it gives the feeling of satiety. It churns the food as well as it helps in the mixing the food with the gastric juice. The gastric juice is secreted by the gastric gland, and this churn of the food or food is mixed with that gastric juice. The stomach is continuous. The fourth part of the stomach, that is the cardia, fundus body and pylorus. The pylorus is continuous to the first portion of the duodenum, and this duodenum is what? It is the small intestine. It is the small intestine. The small intestine in human being, the small intestine is about 6 meter long. It is about the 6 meter long, and the diameter of that small intestine is 2.5 centimeter broad tube, which is coiled within the abdominal cavity. It is coiled within the abdominal cavity. The coils are held together by the mesenteries. These coils are held together by the mesenteries, as well as it supporting the blood vessels. It supporting the blood vessels, lymph vessels and nerves. The small intestine again divided into 3 parts, that is the duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, the small intestine, this portion of the small intestine is divided into duodenum, which is continuous to the last part of the stomach, means pylorus is continuous to the duodenum, then the jejunum and ileum. The duodenum is about 26 centimeter long. It is the U-shaped structure. The duodenum turns toward the left side of the abdominal cavity below the stomach. It is continued to the second part, that is the jejunum. It is about the 2.5 meters long coiled structure or coiled middle portion of the intestine. It is narrower than the duodenum. The jejunum second part is the narrower than the duodenum, and it is again continued to the ileum. The ileum is the last part of the small intestine. The length of that ileum is 3.5 meter long. It is highly coiled and the little broader than the jejunum. The ileum opens into the large intestine, or we can say that it is open into the chiasm of the large intestine at the junction. This ileum is continuous to the large intestine, which is present in the abdominal cavity. This large intestine, it is also divided into 3 parts, the chiasm, colon and the rectum. We know that the ileum is opens into large intestine, and the large intestine, the length of that large intestine is 1.5 meter in length. It is wider in diameter, means it is wider than the small intestine but shorter than the small intestine, means the length of large intestine is less than the small intestine, but the diameter is more than the small intestine. It consists of the chiasm, colon and the rectum. The first part is the chiasm, which is small blind sac present at the junction of the ileum, which is present at the junction of the ileum and colon. It is the 6 centimeter in length. The chiasm is 6 centimeter in the length. It hosts some symbiotic microorganism. The elongated worm-like vermiforms appendix arise from the chiasm. From the chiasm, the formation of appendix is carried out. That is the arise from chiasm, as well as appendix is the vestigial organ in human being. The appendix is the vestigial organs of the human human digestive system or in the human being, and it is functional in the herbivorous. The vestigial organ is functional in the herbivorous, and for the digestion of the cellulose, it helps in the digestion of the cellulose. That chiasm or the appendix is now continued to the second part of the large intestine, that is the colon. The chiasm is opens into the colon, and colon is the tube-like organ consists of the three parts. The colon is the tube-like organ which consists again the three parts, and these three parts are the ascending colon, transverse colon and the descending colon. These three parts of the colon is present, as well as the colon is internally lined by the mucosal cell, and this colon is open into the rectum. Rectum is the last part of the large intestine. It is the rectum which is the last part of the large intestine. It is posterior region of the large intestine. It is temporary store the undigested waste material, and this undigested waste material called as the feces till it digested throughout the anus, and this rectum is continued to the last part of the alimentary canal or last part of the digestive system, that is the anus. Anus is the terminal opening of the alimentary canal. It is guarded by the sphincter muscles, or it is guarded by simply sphincters. It expels the fecal matter by the process called egestion from the body, and this egestion is also known as the defecation. It is the digestive system of the human being which consists the alimentary canal, mouth, teeth, tongue, then the esophagus, then stomach. In between the esophagus and stomach there is the presence of liver gland. The stomach is continuous to the small intestine. The small intestine having the three parts, duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Then it is continued to the large intestine having again three parts, the chiasm, colon and rectum, and the last part or the last terminal organ or terminal opening of the digestive system is the anus, in which from the anus the egestion process, egestion of the fecal matter is carried out, and the digestive system is completed from the anus. Thank you.